Good morning and welcome back to Brinker Family Farm. Today we're going to talk about my most favorite herb, calendula. I actually was growing calendula before I even knew of the medicinal values of it, and since we've been here, this will be our 5th growing season, which is hard to believe. I've been making sure it's been in our garden ever since we've been at this property. I've been trying to come through and deadhead and weed a little bit each day, and I'm a little bit behind, so I'm trying to work on this section right now. I decided to leave some of this so you can see the different stages of the plant as well. So right here is a freshly open, and this would be the best time to harvest your calendula if you want to use it to infuse in oils or to save for any bath salts or teas. These ones you can tell are old and they're done. Right here, look at this beauty. These ones are getting ready to open. And then this one is in the drying phase. And this is going to be the seeds that I scatter to continue to grow out this bed. My goal is to get, well, first of all, I gotta get everything weeded, but my goal is to get this whole back space to get filled with calendula. Calendula is not a perennial, it's an annual, and the reason that you will get fresh starts each year is because of the seed dropping. So it reseeds itself, and that makes it quite convenient for me that I don't have to come through and redo all of this. It's doing it for me, which is very helpful. Calendula is also very calming, and it has, when you go to pick it, you'll almost feel a little bit of a stickiness to it, and that's the resin, and that's the important part that you want. That's the important part that you want when you're trying to harvest and get that to make the oils and the salves. Calendula is really good for rashes, eczema. Our kids use it all the time on little bug bites, itchy spots, poison ivy, and it really does calm that down for them. When it comes time to pinch back so that you'll continue to get more, because the more you pinch them, the more they want to grow, all you have to do is take the tops off and just drop it. That's usually what I do. Now, if I'm wanting the flower, I want it to be freshly opened, not an old one. Like this one's a little bit, this one's maybe just getting a little bit hair too old. This is just a hair too early. You just want it to be freshly opened. And all you have to do is take the tops, unless you're going to use it for something else. Because calendula has all these petals, you have to really watch that you don't pick it. Like right now would not be a good time to pick and want to save this. It's got too much moisture in it. You're going to want to get it when the day is warm and this is all dried out, just to help you avoid any molding that could happen. I did plant some fresh yarrow this year. I just scattered the seeds, and these ones seem to be a little bit more of a, what I've seen so far is they're really full. This is my forget-me-nots that are coming to an end. Now I only have a few plants. I did see there was a few more, but the forget-me-nots came in hot and thick, and I think it kind of choked out some of my other seeds. It's getting done. I'm going to come through and kind of shake the seeds around because I want this to continue to bloom in the future. Now we're going to head over to the deck so I can show you different stages of drying that I have and infused in oil. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this gem. Alright, so right here you can see this is the one I just picked and brought up here. This is a cluster I actually just picked a few days ago, and I have it hanging. You can see the leaves are starting to wilt, and they're actually going the way I want them. I wanted to display these hanging. That's why I've got them. I just tied them with a little like clear string and just trying to get the petals and everything to stay down. That's what I'm using this for. It's not going to be used for anything medicinal, just for decoration. When I'm trying to air dry these to be able to save for future uses, I simply just take them off the stem, and I will either lay them like this and flip them every few days so they get a chance to dry, or you can lay them face down like this, and that way all the petals are spread out, and it's usually best to have them on a drying rack of sorts so that the air can come up from the bottom. Not to leave them somewhere solid, but somewhere with that airflow can come through. And you'll still want to make sure you flip them around and move them so they can get properly dried. Alright, so here is a jar. This is some that I've saved this year. And They're completely dry. The nice thing about calendula is it holds its color pretty good, which is really nice to add that. Like if I'm adding it to a bath salt, I'll have that nice pretty orangey color. Calendula actually comes in a few different varieties. You can get like a white one and like a peachy colored one. They're not going to hold as much medicinal value. The other varieties are mostly just for like bouquets and just for pretty, kind of like your yarrow. If you want the medicinal, you're going with the white with just a tiny bit of pink in it, where I have this other kind that's called a pastel. I think it's called Polish pastel. It's offered by Baker Creek, and it's got a lot of pinks in it. That's like a lot more noticeable and bright, and that's not going to hold as much medicinal value. That's just going to be more of a bouquet type flower. So here it is. This is all dry, and you can see a few of my petals are falling off. When it comes time for me to use this, all I have to do is just gently pull the flowers off. They just come right off. You'll know that they're good and dry when they just pop right off, and you don't have to tug on them. So this is my jar for future. I have some more that I'm going to be drying. I'm hoping to get several jars. I need to get out there and deadhead so they can keep blooming. This is a jar that I've already taken all the petals off of, and it's just in here. You don't really need the green, the stem part. You don't need this for anything. It doesn't really hold too much medicinal value. And then the final jar I brought out with me is a jar that I've had infusing. Look how pretty that is. It's taken on the hue of the orange. And all I'll have to do is strain this through a fine mesh strainer, and it will be ready for me to make salve. So I have my salve recipe. It's just this strained out oil that's been infused and some beeswax just to help bind it together. It's going to be in my book released this fall, hopefully by the end of September, that is called Grow Something Beautiful, Basic Steps to a Simpler Life, and where I've included some health things like making salves and bath salts, lip balms, and I've also included like cooking basics with like cooking a whole chicken, and different like some of our basic from scratch recipes that we like to make, along with some gardening tips and some ideas for building community, because I really feel that to grow something beautiful you kind of need it to be well-rounded, and skills, community, and all those things kind of help bind that together. But back to the calendula. This is ready to go. You want it to sit ideally 4 to 6 weeks in a dark space, and you want to make sure you shake it daily just to make sure that the oil is getting infused with everything. The book I've been using lately is Rosemary Gladstone's Medicinal Herbs. She has several in her collection, and this is my favorite. This is one of the first ones I got. Bo actually picked it up for me, and I've used it a lot. It's my favorite. I've put together a little bit of a calendula guide that's from information I pulled out of here. I want to read a few things out of the book for you. Calendula is one of the hardiest flowers in the garden, often continuing to bloom even after the first snowfall. So that's nice to have something that still adds a little bit of a pop of color. It's one of the earlier flowers because of its self-seeding, that it'll start blooming a little bit earlier than some of your other things as well in the springtime. If calendula is blooming in your garden, don't serve a salad without adorning it with calendula's golden rays. They will brighten any meal and make even the most reluctant of salad eaters head back for seconds. Calendula doesn't have a strong taste like nasturtiums. It can be a little bit more peppery if you add that to your salads, and it's not an overwhelming smell like sometimes lavender. You can get too much lavender at one time and it's kind of a strong scent. Calendula is very calming, and it's very calming, and it doesn't have a big taste, but it does have a big impact in your health. Calendula flower is very powerful at helping promote wound healing because it helps with the cell repair and growth. If you have a cut, scrape, or rash, it's really good to add calendula salve to those things to help with the regrowth and to the healing process. Calendula can be made into a tea, which is really good for reducing the fevers and for your lymphatic system. So if you have like a swollen glands, it will help soothe all of that down. It's good and calm. You can have it for your baby. So if you're like a nursing mom and you wanted to have some tea, calendula would be a good one, versus some other ones that are considered like hot, and you don't want, like garlic. Garlic is considered something hot, so you wouldn't want to have too much of that if you were nursing, because it could cause like colic in babies. But calendula is very calming, and it's going to be fine for you to have babies. Obviously, you want to ask your physician and, you know, talk to them about it and do your own research. But overall, for myself, personally, I've not had any issues. I don't drink a lot of calendula tea. I use it mostly for baths and for salves. However, I'm hoping to be able to save enough that I can add it into some tea blends I'm working on for us for this winter. So calendula is like an antifungal. That's another bonus of it, and she just talks about so many good things in this book. It's not a very big book. It's not super thick, but it covers like 33, I believe it was 33 herbs in here, and gives you some recipes. So like right here's her salve recipe. Here's how to infuse it in oil, and then she also includes a face cream, which I have not tried yet, but I was reading it the other day and thought this sounded good. And then the next one's chamomile, which I've been trying to harvest as well, and I'm really excited to have like 3 plants out in the garden. I have kids waking up, and I really enjoyed this morning walk around and talking about calendula, my absolute favorite. It adds a lot of brightness and sunshine to our garden and for our uses in the house as well. It's a really easy plant to grow, and you can do so much with it. I hope you will consider growing it as well. Until next time. Grow something beautiful. Grow something beautiful.
Grow something beautiful.
Have a good one.